He was born on December 16th, 2003. Right pound is 6 pounds, 6 ounces. He was the baby brother to Yashim Smith, and soon to become an older brother to Tyreek Smith. Football is all that he knew. Avid football player. He actually was selected to be one of the people to play for the National Star League down in Florida. He played for the Columbia Raiders. He was a beginning freshman at Hickman High School. His principal was Dr. McPhee, and his favorite teacher was Miss Dixon.
He liked football. What else did he like? What was his favorite song? What was his favorite thing to do on the weekend when he was off?
He loved to be around his friends and family, especially family. His dad loves to barbecue, and that's what they would do. Nas had an infectious smile. He could walk in a room and just would take control of the room. And I think that intimidated a lot of people because they didn't know how to take that. It could go the good way or bad way, but he befriended everyone, or at least tried to. He did love football, and he loved teaching his baby brother how to play football. Nas was an excellent student. He had just received an award for Summer School Hickman, a new program they had started there. Unfortunately, that certificate had to be mailed to me. And then he had his older brother. I took him under his wing, and football coaches have been wanting him to play since he was 2 years old. He was born in St. Louis, and he definitely was a St. Louis baby.
So, unfortunately, Nasir's not here with us today. Can you tell the readers, just in a few sentences, why? And we'll talk a little more in depth about everything that happened.
Well, two cowards I consider cowards, two immigrant cowards, shall I add, decided to take it upon themselves on Election Day. I'm an avid political person. There was no school that day, and my son was staying with his dad for the time being. And I went to vote like I normally would on voting day, 6:30, and got to work at 7. My son called me that morning and told me he was here, and the next call I got was from his older brother telling me I needed to go check the hospitals and the police department because he thought his brother was dead.
So, your son was killed, and based on what we've reported, based on the court documents that have been released in the case, he was looking to buy marijuana that day.
Correct.
And something went south inside of Mr. Levini's apartment.
It's Mr. Glay's apartment.
Mr. Glay's apartment, I apologize. Something went south, and shots were fired, and Nasir is no longer with us.
Correct.
So, what do you think happened that day?
I think my son was set up. There's absolutely no way that he would have put himself in that predicament where he felt he would have been hurt. I was told that they were supposed to have gotten into a car to leave to go smoke, but there was not enough room, so they went inside the apartment. I don't really know, besides what I've been told, what happened. I know my son was killed inside and drugged outside. But that's really all I know. I know that I had to find out myself that my son was murdered that day. He was murdered at 11:30 in the morning, and I was not notified until I drove myself to the police department at 8 o'clock in the evening, and that's after I checked all the hospitals and with the Boone County Sheriff's Department.
Nevertheless, Columbia Police did arrest Mr. Glay
Mr. Glay and Mr. Limbimbi.
And they were charged with murder, second-degree murder, correct?
Correct.
So how did that make you feel? Did you feel like you were on at least going to get some sense of justice in your son's death?
They were actually charged with murder in the second degree, which is a different classification from second-degree murder. In my own digging, I found that out. Felony murder is totally different from the classification of second-degree murder. No, there will never be enough justice because my son's not here.
One of the defendants in this, I believe it was Eric, he was recently released on home detention.
Correct.
I mean, he's still awaiting trial. He's still going to have to face trial for his actions, but he is at home with an ankle monitor, correct? I mean, this is what the court records reflect, and this is what you've told me.
Correct.
How does that make you feel?
Infuriated. How is the murder of a child, especially a person that's an immigrant, be allowed house arrest? Now, I understand the new Supreme Court law, Rule number 33, is supposed to take effect. However, is for non-violent offenders. Why Judge Crane didn't take that into account, I have no idea.
Did the prosecutors ever reach out to you and tell you, hey, this is what's going to happen? This defendant is going to be allowed to sit at home while he waits trial?
Well, the prosecutor's office told me there was a chance, but we had court the week before, and Judge Crane denied the bond, and then I got a 4-hour notice that Monday, and the prosecutor, Mr. Roger Johnson, sat there and said this is felony murder, that he objected. However, he could have got up and said way more than what he said. He assumed that Judge Crane would remember this case, even though that man sees hundreds of cases a day.
So, you don't feel you got a fair shake from the Boone County criminal justice system in this?
Correct. And I don't feel any family should have to go through what I'm going through. If it's murder, they shouldn't be allowed to walk around free. Not only is it endangering my family, it's endangering every resident that is in Boone County. This man could cut that box off his leg and be back on a plane to Africa before we would catch him.
You keep referring to him as an immigrant. Have you confirmed that he was here? Or was he here illegally, or was he here?
No, I contacted ICE. They're here legally.
Okay.
This
I mean, does that have
change.
a bearing on the case?
To me, it does, because he definitely shouldn't be allowed house arrest on immigration status.
Okay, fair enough. Sure. Your son's case is one of hundreds we've seen in recent years of gun violence here in Columbia. Mm-hmm. Do you feel it's a problem?
Oh, it's a major problem. I actually joined Mom's Demand Action. We're going to push legislation coming in January when the session comes back open, because I think this law needs to be amended. I understand it's a new law, but there should be no victims or murder victims' families that have to go through what I'm going through. If it involves guns and you kill someone, if it involves drugs and you kill someone, especially a child. My son was 14 years old. His brother has to go to school knowing this person is out here, and that's not fair to us.
In an ideal world, legislatively, what would you like to see happen regarding firearms?
Legislatively, I think everyone needs a background check. Missouri is very lax on it. Not that that's going to stop what's going on, because most of these guns aren't legal anyways, but once you turn 18 in the state of Missouri, you can own a firearm and walk around with it unregistered, all of that. You can buy a gun at a gun show and get ammunition, and they don't even have to know your name.
You think that's wrong? It's
very wrong, and there are Republicans and Democrats on both sides of the aisle that need to come together and get these guns off the streets. Go ahead.
What's stopping that from happening? What's the obstacle? What's the roadblock here?
Well, there's too much money in politics. Get rid of Citizens United and the dark money groups. I mean, we just watched this with Eric Greitens and everything. And then we got Mike Parsons doing the dirty work for our president.
You lost your son. He was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been feeling in the aftermath? How do you cope? What's a day in your life like with this in your mind?
Every single day I wake up at 3:30 in the morning in the Columbia Police Department lobby. Every single day. That's where I wake up. I have nightmares. And I don't think it's fair that they show their face and not my son's face, because he's the victim. He's the one that died. And I felt it unfair that the news released my son's name with him being a minor, and I was told by the PR person that it was to shock the community. I said, well, I'm shocked. The Columbia City Council had to call the chief of police and Judge Crane's office to ask why they released a murder suspect on house arrest. Shouldn't take that. They shouldn't have to ask these questions. That's just common sense. You don't let someone out that murders someone, because they have the potential to do it again, especially when he said it in his own statement.
What would justice in this case look like?
For Eric, life in prison would do good for me. For Alex, 25 years. I mean, for one, you got granted the right to come into our country and to live the American dream, and you crushed it not only for yourselves, but for your family, for my family, for the numerous families of people that love my son. It's just not right.
So I have. Is there anything else you want to say?
Yes, I believe all the judges here in Boone County should take it under their own discretion. Actually read the case files that you're getting before you release anyone on bond. And make it fair to the people that pay taxes in this community, to make sure that this community is able to strive. You know, we've got to get a hold on the violence, and we've got to make sure that we have people in the community that do stuff for our kids. Now, what I mean by that is they have sports in this town. However, the price on it, people can't afford, so they're scared to apply. So kids are left out here on their own without a sense of direction of where to turn. We have so many incarcerated males that children don't have any good, strong role models, and there's only so much that the community can do. We've got to step up as a community to stop it. And I don't know which way to go about it, but that will be my push, and I want to make sure that kids out here are protected. There are some wonderful kids out here, and my son was one of them.
That's good.